Ganesh, you talk of mastering disruption. First of all, how do you define disruption? One has to define, can disruption be defined?
No, like I mentioned, disruption you can't define. It's a state that exists, that is there. But typically, when the status quo changes, it could be any number of reasons. I mean, either, for example, things which used to cost money becomes free. Take your own media example, for example. If I can get content for free, the marginal cost has come down to zero because of digital media. Earlier, when I wanted an article, when I wanted to read about it, I had to get the magazine. So magazine has got a physical cost of production, cost of distribution. All of that goes away when you talk about digital media. Or music, for example. You have DVD, you have cost of DVD, cost of storage, cost of the media, cost of distribution, cost of transportation, saving. Now you do streaming.
Spotify.
Okay, right, Spotify. So changes in status quo would lead to disruption. I mean, that's the way.
And looking at opportunities and creating new ways of doing the same thing or consuming content creates business enterprises or startups. Let me also ask you one more thing while we come to the book. See, people typically they succeed in one domain, one industry, and then they do variants of that, or sometimes they don't succeed in the second, third venture. You have succeeded in multiple domains. Let's look at Big Basket, let's look at Bluestone, Home Lane, Portia Medical. Earlier you were in IT, ITS, telecom. Typically you say one trick pony. In your case, you are a multi-horse, multi-race horse, winning horse, so to say. So what were the learnings that you brought to each of this? What made this success happen across industries, across platforms, across different times in the evolution of Indian business world?
Yeah, so there are two parts to this question. Okay, right? One part is really I don't have any deep domain expertise, so I'm a generalist. So which basically meant I'm not a scientist who knows about genomics, and therefore my businesses will be in the genomics or related area. Okay, right? That's why I'm not. Since I'm a generalist, there is no specific deep domain knowledge. It made it easy for me to assume lack of knowledge and go across. And second, about one trick pony, many trick pony, I think it really is not really true, because there are a lot of businesses that have failed, that have started, have not worked. I wouldn't say, like you rightly said, the business fails, not the entrepreneur. The idea fails, not the entrepreneur, which is very true. So number of them not fail. But we obviously talk about it, like the names that you mentioned, what I mentioned in the book are all about successes. We don't talk about things that did not work out. Perhaps that is a book in itself about what did not work, why it did not work. I think entrepreneurship is like a lottery. It's a percentage game. If you want wins, you need to try a lot more. In fact, I would say if you have got 100% win record, you're not trying enough. Okay, right? You need to try a lot more businesses. Some of them will work, some of them will not work, some of them will work spectacularly, some of them will fail spectacularly, which is also fine. So that has been approach has been, because you're not a domain expert, domain doesn't matter. If it is a large pain problem, large sector, large problem, then potentially I can build a large business. So if you take the entire plethora of this, the common theme is core sectors, large sectors. Roti, kapda, makan, education, healthcare, and last one is entertainment. Okay, right? So these 6 are core large sectors. So I like to build in those sectors. Okay, right? None of which is my area or specialization. 2, can I disrupt a status quo? Again, I'm using the word disruption by using something new, either technology, internet, data, new way of doing things, because then you get a disproportionate chance to succeed. Chances of success are still low, but you increase your odds by disrupting the status quo using something new in a large existing sector. None of these are really glamorous ventures.
And since we are talking of multiple ventures, you also had co-founders, right? In some, your wife was a co-founder, right? First of all, you should write a book on how to work with your wife. I'm sure it will be the bestseller. It'll beat all records. But on a serious note, she also brings a certain kind of expertise and her own experience to the table. Tell us about the role of co-founders.
Yeah, so I right from day one, 1990, when I started my first business, to all my 4 businesses where I was founder and CEO, and next 10 businesses where I was the promoter, I've always had multiple co-founders. Okay, right? Again, one of it is my own personal lack of deep domain expertise is one. 2, I do believe that entrepreneurship is a low probability success game. And like any person, if you're fighting on a betting on a low probability event, then what do you try to do? You try to increase the odds of success. And one of the ways is to get multiple people, so that if it succeeds, you have to share is fine, but if it fails, at least you have multiple people hanging by the noose along with you. But seriously speaking, I think co-founders I have benefited. I think all my successes, whichever I've been, I owe it to more to my co-founders than to my own capability. Be it my wife has been co-founder in 2 of the 4 businesses which I ran as co-founders, and she's now a co-founder in Growth Story in all the platform businesses that we build. But one of the things that has helped me in this co-founder business is having people with complementary skill set. What I mean by that is, if you are good in marketing, the normal tendency is to find your friends and people who are good in marketing in your same thing to become as co-founders. In my opinion, that's a bad idea. You need to have co-founders with complementary skill set, okay, right? Even though they are distinct and different. And
Sure.
that brings balance to the company. Like if you take, for example, where my wife has been, she is very good in human resources, in operations, in scaling, okay, right? I like to do strategy, fundraising, investor relations, all of those. And that works out very well, okay, right? Despite being wife, having difference of opinion at home about where to stay, how to bring up your kids, which school they go to, you go to office, again you have difference of opinion. But because the roles are clear, the expertise is clear, the demarcation is clear. And the same thing has worked with my co-founders, whether in each of the businesses. I've had people as co-founders whose complementary skills are very different. So we know where I need to take a decision, where they need to take a decision. It doesn't matter I'm the CEO or not the CEO, but they are co-founders, right?
Now, when you were writing this book and it has 10 chapters, and you start by doing an overview of business models, for our viewers, explain broadly what are the kind of business models, simplify it. One of the problems with entrepreneurship books is they use too much jargon. In your book, you try to actually explain and simplify jargon. So can we start with you telling us a bit about these 10 chapters, and you give an overview of various business models. Let's start there.
Yeah, so the way I looked at it is, traditionally what we have had for decades and decades is the traditional business model, what we call as a pipeline business model, where the flow of value is linear like in a pipeline. You have manufacturing at one end, okay, right? And your consumer at the other end, you have dealers, you have distributors, you have working capital, you have production, and all of those. And that was the core business model for centuries, okay, right? And after that, what internet, data, digital technologies did is fundamentally brought in a new business model, which we now call as the platform business model, for lack of a better word. In a platform business model, the value does not flow linearly from one end to the other end. There is no producer, manufacturer, and a customer. In a platform business model, there are 2 sides, producer and supplier, and the platform business stands in the middle, exchanges value between these 2 sides, makes small amount of money. Think like Zomato or Swiggy, between the restaurants and the consumers. Think Ola or Uber, between the drivers and the riders that is there. Or think Airbnb, between the host and the guest. So that is most fascinating, made possible obviously because of online, because of digital and all that stuff. Now what is interesting in the book we talk about in detail is the drivers of this platform business model are very different than traditional business model. Traditional business, we work on economies of scale. What does it mean? All of us know economies of scale means as you produce more, your unit cost comes down. You publish more magazine, you print more magazines, per magazine cost will come down because your fixed cost gets amortized. Now in a platform business model, there is no fixed cost because you're not owning the restaurant, you're not owning the hotel, you're not owning the car. So what are the drivers, what are the metrics, and how to succeed in that and how to leverage that. So that's a very fascinating discussion that we talk about. Obviously, the derivative from this is business models like fintech, like health tech, creator economy business models.
SaaS.
SaaS as a business model. So all of these comes as part of that. So I think that is what fairly we are focused on. Of course, focused on digital disruption. How do existing legacy companies leverage the learnings from new age business model to incorporate it into their business?
So tell me, is SaaS dead, or SaaS has to reinvent itself in a generative AI era?
Yeah, that's a very fascinating question. Still, the debate is still out, but clearly, it will not be wrong to say SaaS world has been shaken up completely. With SaaS, we have seen whether it's Zoho or Zendesk or Freshdesk or vertical SaaS players like Zenoti or developer ops like Postman and BrowserStack have had a dream run. Okay, right? Multiple factors, including things going on the cloud and cloud computing and AWS, and all of those have contributed, and India has been a huge beneficiary. But generative AI, singularly in the last 2 years, has challenged the dominance. You must have heard of the fact that Salesforce subscription are down. Klarna, the company, surrendered huge amount of Salesforce subscription. Now that has been unheard of in the SaaS world. SaaS world works on this jargon called land and expand. What is it? To Businessworld, I will go and sell 10 licenses, and slowly I will expand.
20, 30.
It will become 20, 30 in the number of users. It will also add more modules. You are using it for only one. You will have creating presentations, creating design,
Upsell.
creating this. Upsell. Okay, right? So land and expand as a strategy. So inside sales and then land and expand as strategy. Now generative AI has completely changed it. If earlier you had, in Businessworld as an example, for media, for design, if you had Canva licenses or Figma licenses or those licenses, now because people are using generative AI tools, you don't need that license. Forget about those licenses, land and expand from 10 going to 20, from 10 you're going to 1. Okay, right? How do they handle it? So that's one problem, that land and expand is getting there. So SaaS is under huge stress. Second, SaaS is required because it gives us a very plug and play, ready to use tool for a professional, whether it's an engineer or a manager or an executive, to be productive immediately. You hook on to various SaaS tools and you are up and running, right? To Salesforce, to Figma, to this, whatever, depending on whether you're a designer, you're a desk worker or sales guy. Now what has happened is, because of the Gen AI tools that person has got, ChatGPT is the simplest thing, but other Gen AI tools, he doesn't need a SaaS tool anymore. He can directly query into the database. He can give the full instruction. He can get whatever he wants. You don't need to use Canva.
Yeah, and also existing services or SaaS platforms are also adding co-pilots. They're adding agents.
Yeah. So agentic AI and co-pilots are available for you to be able to.
Whether it's Adobe, and I can go on.
Yeah.
Right?
So Adobe is a great example where you go into Adobe, you have got all those tools. Okay, right? Which already are embedded there. Now you don't need an additional tool for. Like a Grammarly, for example, is already embedded into this. I don't need a Grammarly separately. I don't need a summarization tool. Take, for example, in the COVID, when the Zoom happened, all these note-taking tools, recording tools became very popular. Now, as a co-pilot or as a service, every video conferencing, teleconferencing software has got a recording tool. Now, what happened to those companies which used to specialize in recording conferences? Non-existent. Okay, right? So I think that is the challenge, both in terms of the tools available, co-pilots available, and land and expand strategy not working. They are under severe stress. But still early days to write off, I would say.
Now, let me also ask you, because you are in some way able to see some domains where possibilities existed and you went and built businesses. As we talk in August 2025, tell us 3 businesses that are waiting to be disrupted. You did it.
That always is tough. A lot of times, like I said, I've been proven wrong more times than right. But if I were to bet on the businesses that are there, one, I think derived businesses, okay, right, out of where the world is going would be a very good indication. What I mean by that, let me explain. Electric vehicles, for example, okay, is there to stay. Number of electric vehicle adoption you have seen in India. Electric vehicle, pure electric or hybrid is going on. So what that does is huge number of derivative demand businesses happening out of this, whether it is battery manufacturing, charging stations, battery swapping technologies, battery service,
sharing
battery as a service, sharing, battery recycling, disposal of battery waste, recycling of battery. Each one of this is a derived demand arising out of the fact that electric vehicle. Now the same traditional story that when there was a gold rush, people who made money are not the people who are digging for gold, people who are selling the shovels. Okay, right? Because for every one person you find gold, there are 1,000 people who are digging. For every one person, 1,000 people require 10,000 shovels to dig. So if you make shovels, you are done. So the same kind of thing, derived demand.
So data center business is doing well.
Data center business.
We need energy. Elon Musk says the biggest threat is not having enough energy in the future.
Yeah, and energy you require. So each one of it, I think, is a potentially huge. Or take, for example, this entire concept of self-driving cars or autonomous driving. Now look at what's happening already there in the US. Okay, right? You have Waymo, okay, from the big tech. You have General Motors, Cruise, car manufacturer, traditional car manufacturer getting into that. You have big tech getting into this. You have Tesla. Now Uber is lining up. So just imagine a city where you have driverless robo-taxis going around, and who are the players in that business? Unthinkable earlier. You have an aggregator like Uber. You have a traditional car manufacturer like General Motors. You have Google, Alphabet playing in the play. So each one. So again, what are they trying to do? They are trying to take autonomous driving as a technology disruption and trying to build business model around it, because suddenly you don't need a driver. If you don't need a driver, then your cost per kilometer comes down drastically. And the same thing we see happening in China too. This entire dark factory concept, where you have entire factories without a single human being there. China was known for low
cost manufacturing. Because
now
the labor costs were low.
Labor costs were low. Now it is fraction of the low labor cost. Because entire dark factory, because it runs 24/7, dark factory because there are no lights, and now you're talking about labor costs being zero, okay, right?
Or close to zero.
Close to zero, and the cost of manufacturing has come down drastically. Xiaomi has done that already, is doing it with smartphones, but the opportunity is phenomenal. So using deep tech, using technology to change the rules of the game, like the robotaxi or the dark factory, or a derived demand, are some of the things which I am very bullish about as business model. Otherwise, you have deep tech, you have quantum computing, you have space tech, you have defense tech. Look at the wars now; they are all being fought on drones. So the amount of technology in warfare is going to skyrocket. So the amount of investments in defense tech or space tech
is going to go up. Yeah. Now let me ask you. Let's take health. You built Portia, again ahead of time. What are the opportunities in health that you see now? And let me divide for simplicity, physical health and mental health. So they go hand in hand. Give me what's happening in health tech. The 3 buzzwords of health tech are preventive, personalized, and predictive. Right?
You have answered the question.
Yeah, but give me some. So that is the journal. But give me some specific opportunities.
Yeah. So no, I think you have summarized it beautifully in those 3 words. I think there are 2 aspects to it. Especially in India, access to healthcare, quality healthcare, is a big challenge. And I don't want to get into data about number of hospital beds, number of doctors, and all that.
We know it is.
Also
very expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive. If you have money, you will get world-class care in top cities and even in next-tier cities. If you have money, world-class equipment, world-class doctors in India. But that happens to the top cream of the cream layer if you have the money. Most of India is underinsured or non-insured. Only 1/3 is covered by insurance, that also is underinsured. So it's a nightmare, and we all know in COVID how families' generation wealth was wiped out in trying to survive. Same thing, God forbid, if cancer or disease like that happen, the whole net worth of the family would get wiped out. It's so expensive in absence of insurance. Many of them are not covered by it. So there are huge challenges. I think the silver lining there is, can we use disruptive technology? Can we use generative AI? Can we use artificial intelligence, machine learning to address this vexatious problem? Increasing the number of beds, increasing the doctors, increasing things is not going to solve it. The gap is too huge. I think that is where I think there is a lot of green shoots. Let me take some examples. A huge amount of work is being done on personalized medicine by using precision healthcare. What does it mean? Can I use genomic data? Can I use genome to be able to predict either likelihood of a disease? Equally importantly, to find out what is the personalized care pathway that I can give depending on your specific genome. For example, there's a test called Oncotype DX. Okay, right? I'll give an example. It's used in breast cancer. Now, what does it do? It actually predicts the efficacy of doing chemotherapy for a patient diagnosed with breast cancer and gives a certain confidence level score. Earlier it used to be do chemotherapy, okay, nuke it fully, completely, do that. Now there are a lot of side effects. There is also affordability issues and it may not be needed. Now you get with a certain confidence level, a certain recurrence score saying that if you don't do chemotherapy, this is a chance of likelihood of recurrence, and you can take actually a call. So I think a lot of genomics, personalization, using data to be able to do that is fine. What is good is we also see a lot of public, private, academic collaboration happening in the Indian context in the health tech space, which again is extremely encouraging.
So public health is a big agenda with the government, also with large corporates who want to make sure that they contribute to the health of the nation in the literal word of it.
Yeah, so there's a Center for Brain Research at Indian Institute of Science, funded by Chris Gopalakrishnan, Infosys co-founder, IISc professors. They are working with the government, doing 10-year longitudinal study on neurodegenerative diseases, focused on Indian demographic, Indian population. If you look at it, all the medicines that we take were designed in US or Europe, whereas our genes are very different. So personalization based on genomics, based on Indian demographics, to be able to predict and therefore change behavior or lifestyle to be able to do it. That's one area. Other one is pure prediction using Gen AI.
What about mental health?
I think mental health is extremely unaddressed nascent area. Okay, right? So today, social pressures, social media pressures, okay, right? Short attention span, nuclear family, all of them is creating so much of stress. And obviously, phone addiction, social media addiction, short attention span is not helping any of it. Trying to intervene and have, say, at one extreme, an AI companion, mental companion through generative AI, where anytime you can chat, not with a human being, but with a refined person, can really help you in counseling or coaching. Okay, right? We are seeing a lot of offshoots in like a co-pilot or a companion or a mental health companion. Two, mental health also happen to be a space where people prefer certain anonymity. So having platforms for mental health, where I can go to the platform, I can have a deep conversation thanks to all the teleconference tool with, say, a counselor who is sitting in some other part of the country or the world, actually helps, because nobody likes to be seen going to a mental health. So telemedicine, telehealth, video conferencing, many of these technologies will help a lot towards mental health, where I'm not feeling comfortable being seen going into a mental clinic or a hospital. Right?
The fall of family as a structure,
Yeah.
though the divorce rates in India still are low, but unsatisfactory relationships, there may be angst, also too much anxiety about success, because the society wants everyone to be successful.
Yeah, I must tell you one thing, since we're talking about health tech, one of the challenges that we have seen in the medtech health tech area is, while technologies are new and available and nascent and fascinating, can it really succeed as a business? Can it cross that
Beautiful
chasm?
point.
Okay, right? Can it really go beyond that? Okay, right? And that is still to be proven. Definitive answer is yes. Take, for example, in the same context you're talking about, people are living longer, geriatric care. All of us will live, in our generation will live at least in the between 90 to 100. Now, unfortunately, the 10 years that are getting added are the last years, where we will need support and health. How can technology help in detecting a fall in advance, in ensuring that I not rush to ICU at a hospital in emergency situation, but there are prior warnings, either through wearables or through tracking parameters, tracking this, all of those are areas that are going in. Are being looked at. What is the challenges? Is there a viable business model here, which people will pay for? Okay,
And is scalable.
and is scalable. It crosses the chasm. Otherwise, most of it today, the struggle, if you talk to venture capitalists, they will tell you this. I mean, we are very, very bullish about it. But is it really venture capital investable? Will it exit at $100 million valuation? I mean, not that it's important, but for them it's important. So how do you get a capital? So that, I think, is the key question that is still being answered. I was talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs who have this fascinating startup which diagnoses cancer by having training dogs to smell. Okay, so apparently dogs can be trained. Certain breeds of dogs are very good in able to detect presence of cancer inside the body. They have got validation, clinical trials. They have done this. Okay, right? And their eventual model is that non-intrusive testing. People just breathe into a mask. The mask is sealed, and then couriered to their office. They have trained dogs, which will smell
Assess.
it and be able to actually give a certain confidence level.
Yeah, well, cancer is at rise.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you about valuations. A business is as good as its valuation. It should be as good at its revenue and profitability, but good valuation enables you to raise capital, and hence helps you build the business. What is your view on valuations of Indian businesses, both off the stock market and on the stock market?
Yeah, so stock market I don't know about, so I cannot be able to comment much on the stock market. People talk about PE multiples of hospitals being hugely overvalued and all the stuff, but I don't play in the stock market.
Mr. Pai must be watching, and I don't think he thinks the hospitals are.
Yeah, Dr. Ranjan Pai is a good friend, and he's been invested in many of my companies, and they and Temasek obviously are riding the wave very, very well now. No, so on the private side, unlisted side, I can tell you, okay, right? Valuation is art and not a science, okay, right? A lot of it is based on future value and future exit. So people work backwards, saying that will this be worth $100 million? In 4 years, if it's likely to be worth $100 million, it's okay for me to put money at $10 million because there is a potential 10x, or even if I dilute later, it's potential 5x. So it is based on the future value, okay, right? One of the reasons for my writing the book is exactly this, because a lot of my friends, people who are not into startups, okay, right? When the new age companies came up for listing, Paytms and Nykaa and Zomato and all this stuff, they said, yeah, how do I evaluate it? EPS kitna hai? Okay, right? Now, when you are making losses, there is no earning. So EPS is negative.
Amazon is a great example.
Amazon is a great example.
Now look at Eternal or Zomato. I mean,
yeah.
It is getting better.
Look at
with
the
every
size
quarter.
of the valuation. So he said, how do you evaluate it? So one of the reasons for writing the book with the target audience is this: how do you help a layman or a common retail investor look at valuation when there are no profits? I think it's based purely on if you're in a sector that is large and if you're playing in a sector where there is a network effects, which to use a jargon, where a winner takes all or the top 2-3 winners takes all as exists, then you can build a valuable company. Zomato, Swiggy are leaders there. Uber, Ola, to some extent Rapido are leaders there. Zepto, Blinkit, Instamart, okay, BB Now, okay, right, are leaders there. So if you are betting on a 1.3, 1.4 billion population and a change in consumer behavior that puts you at the forefront, okay, right, then you can build a hugely valuable company. Now you cannot explain it on the basis of earnings per share or price to earnings ratio. You'll have to look at growth and market share and becoming a habit. Amazon is a slightly different example because Amazon retail still doesn't make money.
Yes.
But they make money out of.
But look at where they're headed, you know. Clearly, I mean, look at the money Bezos' mother made because she loaned a couple of $100,000 to him, right? But the point is that companies that are playing in domains which are relatively new and have a huge growth potential can be undervalued even when they seem to be overvalued, right? That's what I believe.
I wanted to ask you one question since you are in media and you are in advertising exchange for media. How do you see Gen AI affecting advertising per se? And two, because this search engine optimization, SEO, Google Ads thing is becoming a challenge now because people are asking questions directly in the ChatGPT.
Yeah, so now-
so what do you think of the
Google is a
interface?
very smart company. So they, of course, understood it possibly before all of us got to the party, so to say. So today, the way you do your content, it has to be picked up by the AI search engines.
Yeah.
You have to do a
So
content.
it's not traditional SEO, but it's a new form of SEO.
SEO. And they have, whether it's in Gemini or, you know, so they are enabling that. Also, if the media companies have to be successful, they have to build, because they have huge data sets, they can test it on their own data sets and they build their own kind of LLMs, which then link up with an external LLM, so to say. So that's what will happen. But it's a whole new world and you have to look at it. Your CMS can't be traditional CMSs. So they have to be Gen AI enabled CMSs. They have to link up into you know, this new Gen AI world, and it's already happening.
And as a publisher, one more question, sorry. As a publisher who has got the content, what is your take on this entire controversy saying that can LLM be used to use your content to train them without paying you royalty?
Because I'm sure you know my view.
Yeah.
See, we have reporters, we produce content, and we put so much effort in producing content. Of course, the resources, the energy, this money, but just, you know, we are what we are because of the content we do.
Yeah.
So hence, there is clear thinking, and I think it's the right thinking that you are going to make money of our content. So the least we expect is to be remunerated for that, and it should happen through a permission, right?
Even if it's free to view for me, I can't use it for training, is what you're saying.
Yes.
That's
Whereas their look at their valuations, because they're being able to use our databases, because they are being so that's why large media companies will have their own LLM models going forward, and they're already experimenting with that. It's akin of Google and all other big platforms giving you a share of revenue, because
because they're using your content too.
Right. So it's, you know, it's the same logic. I mean, broadly, it's the same logic, and I'm sure it will happen because otherwise you're infringing on the
Copyright.
and there are huge disputes going on as we speak.
Yeah.
But now let me come back to you. You talked about the creator economy. The creator economy is doing well now. Creators are doing well. But in every sector, something new comes up which really disrupts what's happening. How do you see the creator economy as of today, and where do you see it couple of months, couple of years from now?
No, I think creator economy, whether it is Mr. Beast that you see or any of the other large players, it has grown very, very strongly. But couple of interesting things. One is it is very highly polarized. That means the top 1% of the creators really make money.
It's the Pareto's law.
Yeah,
Morgan Housel says, same as ever. The more things change, the more they say.
More the same, whether it's a 80-20 Pareto principle, even not even 80, it's 1% disproportionate, 10%, the balance 90% is very low, and out of the 90%, the bottom say 70-75% of the 90% really doesn't make any money. Okay, right? So that is one which is a very interesting thing for people who want to become creators. Okay, right? Because of all the hype, be very, very careful. Okay, right? That while the total creator economy is huge, it's very highly polarized towards this, because the people's attention span is very, very small. Today, how much can you read? Like the example I started with, I mean, whatever was the number, I could read only a Business Standard, Economic Times. I could read only a Businessworld, Business India. You can have multiple magazines. Don't have the.
So if you are I keep saying, for example, in the exchange for media, Mark, we are, with all humility, we are the leaders.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, if they read us, that's good enough. Forget the number 2, number 3,
Yeah.
number 4. As long as you have it's very tough in any domain to be number 10 and make money, right?
Yeah. So creator economy, the same thing is happening. So that is one. One has to be very careful because the attention span is very, very low. But the second interesting nuance there is, we are seeing the creators are trying to have a direct connect with their followers rather than relying on platforms only. Because the platform business model, while I'll talk about platform business model, has also not been very fair to the participants of the platform. I mean, take for example Google. You mentioned Google, right? When Google started or when Facebook started, they were really nice people. They allowed people to organic reach, they allowed you to keep all your earnings, they did that and all the stuff. And Google, during the time initial birds, you remember those Google ads? Google ads used to come on the side. Okay, 2-3 ads. Original content based on SEO ranking should come on the top, and side ads. Today, what is happening with Google? I mean, Google did this in order to get everyone else hooked onto the platform. Then they tightened the screws more and more. Today, you see Google ads, when you search for something, it's not on the side anymore. It's not a yellow bar on the side. It's the main 1, 2, 3, 4. You search for shopping, it's Google Shopping. Expedia doesn't come, it's Google Flights. Okay, 70% are Google related stuff. It's no longer that original thing where they were creating the web. Same thing with Facebook. It's become impossible to do digital marketing.
Ganesh, in terms of talking digital marketing and advertising, last year was a watershed year. We crossed 1 trillion in ADEX. And this year we are more than 1.1 trillion. And of this 1.1 trillion, almost 500 billion goes to 2 players.
Yeah.
Google and Meta.
Google and Meta. They are kept on. Organic reach will not do. Same thing is true with LinkedIn. Same thing with Apple. When Apple wanted, as a platform, wanted to sell their expensive iPhones, they needed to have an app ecosystem. So they told everybody that you create, you do that stuff, and all the people came. They created because it was great. And then slowly they started no in-app purchases. You can't do payment in the app. You cannot be outside. They banned the app. Each one of it they start doing. So coming back to creator economy.
The new oligarchs are platform owners.
Yeah, new oligarch platform. You see, Google, same thing is with LinkedIn. There is no, I mean, they are business. They are clear. So the playbook is simple. What is the playbook? Start, okay, right? Open the gates, let everybody come into the gates, then close the gates, start monetizing, step by step by step by step, slowly. So coming back to creator economy, the same challenge is there. So you have to be independent. But I'm stunned by some of the business. You must have heard of OnlyFans. We'll not talk in detail about it, because the general audience, the fact that
normally you should say, have you watched OnlyFans? But you're saying only heard. So I
so,
can say yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, heard of it. Yeah, OnlyFans. But it is crazy. $1.1 billion in revenue. The most profitable company out of UK. They give 80% to the creator. 80% rev share to the creator. Okay, right? Not through the apps, not through platforms, directly on OnlyFans and doing that. And creators are having a ball. Again, the same Pareto principle applies,
Sure.
but because 80% is being created, there is no platform fee, there is no in-app fee, there is nothing that is that create that. So I think we will see a lot more of creative economy. The polarization will take place. We'll see direct engagement between the fans or the consumer and the creator.
So what's happening in edutech? You understand that domain. I mean, we are talking 4 years back during COVID, edutech was there, and then a shake-up happened. Is edutech here to stay?
No,
And do you really feel edutech is good quality education?
yeah, so that's it's a very very difficult question to answer, because also it depends upon which country you're talking about. If you're talking about India, propensity to spend on education for the Indian parent is very very high. Okay, when we were doing the EdTech business, we were teaching kids in the US with one-on-one tuition. We did a survey. In India, next to groceries, it was the second largest spend of the family. I mean, housing is not taken, assuming you're staying in your own house. Second largest spend, because we all like to educate our kids. Typical Indian, Korean,
Absolutely.
Chinese, Southeast Asian. In US, by the way, it was seventh largest spend. Okay, sixth largest was on DVD and music. So it is after DVD. The reason I'm saying that is there people think it's a government's responsibility because I'm paying taxes to educate. Whereas here we know that while government will give you free education, nobody wants to send a kid. So I think most of the money in India, in the EdTech, right now is focused on test prep. How do you get your kid to IIT?
TOEFL or
right?
competitive exams like IIT, IIM, CAT.
Yeah. IIT, IIM, CAT, medicine, TOEFL, SAT, ACT, GMAT, GRE. Okay, right? It's on test prep. That is where entire money is going. So much so that you got integrated courses and all that. We are saying schooling and higher education.
What about the certifications in higher education? I mean, online education, I mean, I've seen people doing their courses online. I mean, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, so unless you are able to do online education along with some skills on hand experience, very difficult. I teach one course at IIM Bangalore and two courses at Indian School of Business. They have a lot of these executive education programs, online programs, part-time programs, all of those. It does serve a need for people to get exposure, but real impact will come if it's able to skill them, especially in today's Gen AI world, in a changing world. Take for example your own field on marketing. Okay, the way you will interview a marketing person for a marketing manager's role today will be very different than what you did 3 years back.
Absolutely.
Today it will be depend on how he is able to use the various Gen AI tools to be able, because if your marketing manager doesn't use Gen AI tools, your competitor is using Gen AI tools, you are toast.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. So it's also about understanding business, growth, and the tools, right? And Tutor Vista was acquired by Pearson, so it was a very good exit. Let me come to one point. They say now you have growth story. You become an investor not because you invest, but through exits. How do you know it's the best time to exit? How does that happen? Is there a playbook to that?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question, because we normally, the best analogy I can give is, there are two analogies, okay, right? One is of a gardener, okay, right? There are two kinds of gardeners. One kind of a gardener is one who plants seeds, makes saplings, sells the saplings. He's very happy. His view of the world is, I'll plant 100 seeds, 30 saplings will come, I will sell 20 saplings, and then I'll get money, I'll do that stuff. The other kind of gardener is the one who runs an orchard. Okay, he plants, he grows the trees, he sees it harvest the apples, and year after year he takes the apples, make apple juice, apple jam, and sells the apple and does that. Both are successful, workable models. So one reason for exit is you need to decide
who you want to be.
Okay, right? I personally am not a large company person. I don't enjoy running large companies. Even though whenever I sold a company, I had a golden handshake and a lock-in period. I was quite miserable in that period. Not because the companies were bad; they were all good companies.
But that's not what you're used to.
That's not what
That's
we
not
used
your
to.
strength.
Yeah, I mean the bureaucracy, the thing, all that. So I was just, and in all cases, on the day the lock-in got over, I left. Obviously, I liked the people, they liked me, they were offering me, better and better stuff and all that stuff. So that is one aspect. The other aspect also, the other analogy is like a mango. Okay, when you have a mango, it's kacha initially, it becomes ripe, the value increases. What happens after a certain time? It doesn't become riper. It doesn't become riper.
So yeah.
It actually goes. So you need to decide at what extent do you think the value has been captured. In my businesses, wherever I've had investors, obviously there is also a fiduciary responsibility to give them exit because they are investors in a fund with a certain lifetime. Okay, right? Businesses where such a thing doesn't exist, or you're able to take it to IPO, it's a different matter. It's a different matter, but all that matters. Having said all of this stuff, there is no right time. There are businesses which I have sold, which I thought I've sold really at the top and felt very happy because after that the business is not done well. There are also businesses which I sold, which after that has done so well, where I wake up sometime in the night and see, why the hell did I sell that business? If I had run it, I had everything going, why did I sell it? Okay, right? Both happens. But I personally like doing multiple early stage, the sapling kind of business than this. That really is what is a personal choice.
So you've done everything, sectoral successes, big successes, good acquisitions, good investments. Your family is doing well, your son and daughter are doing well. You've written books, you're teaching, you're having fun. Is there a bucket list that you have?
Yeah, so when I turned 60, 3 years back, I do this 10-year business, okay, right? Every 10 years, decade happens, then you sit back and reflect on what is it you're going to do. So when I turned 50, this is when I'd sold Tutor Vista to Pearson, and there was a fourth exit and fourth company as a founder and CEO and operating person. At 50, I decided I don't want to do any more serial entrepreneurship. Let me do growth story, parallel entrepreneurship, where we promote businesses. Big Basket, Bluestone, Portia Medical, Home Lane, and many such companies are all promoters under the parallel entrepreneurship growth story venture builder model. So when I turned 63 years back, I said, what now I'm going to do? I've done serial entrepreneurship, done parallel entrepreneurship. What is the bucket list? What is it you want to do? Okay, right? So that's when I decided two things I wanted to do. One, I wanted to get into academics and teaching. Okay, I come from a family of educators. My mother was a math lecturer. My great grandfather was a school principal. My grandfather was a school teacher. So I said I want to get into teaching, serious teaching. I think design a course, offer a course at the top management institute. That was one. Two, I said I want to learn a new game. Okay, right? I want to learn something which is new, which has not been done before. So I play tennis every day, but I started playing badminton. Okay, right? And started playing bridge online. Okay, right? So, and I started teaching one course at IIM Bangalore, 2 courses at Indian School of Business, Hyderabad and Mohali. So that has been on the professional side. On the personal side, wanted to travel to places in India which I have not been. Okay, right?
Where have you traveled?
Okay, right. I have traveled to typical temple towns, for example.
I love going to temple town.
Yeah. Okay, right.
Madurai.
I mean, not just, yeah. So I've been to Madurai, been to Chidambaram recently, been to Srirangam last month. So Rameshwaram. So areas where I've not seen the culture and the beauty and the architecture, not just for spirituality. Yes, it's partly it's also spirituality and religion, but just for this. That has been fantastic, both domestically as well as internationally, traveling to new places. 3 months back, went to Alaska. On my bucket list is Antarctica, which I have not been. I need to go there. So travel has been one of the main things when outside my teaching assignment when I'm able to do.
Brilliant. Ganesh, we want to end by a quick fire.
Sure.
People you look up to.
Oh, I look up to many people. I think one is my mother. Okay, right? She has been a role model. She was widowed when she was 34, and I was 9 years old. I had 2 younger sisters, 5 and 1. So as a single mom, at 34 years with 3 children, how she gave us education and brought us all up while working, taking care of home. We used to live in government quarters. She was a clerk in central government in Delhi, and got a house allocated on compassionate grounds. How she has navigated it as a sole single mom is phenomenal. She has been one great role model. Second, on the professional side, Shiv Nadar and Sunil Bharti Mittal, both are excellent role models. On the outside the system, Nandan Nilekani is somebody whom I admire a lot for what he has done, not just with Infosys, but with Aadhaar, UIDAI, and what he has been doing. Population scale, digital public infrastructure creation, working with government, and it's really stunning. In India has leapfrogged on digital infrastructure that is envy of the world, where and it helped during COVID, direct benefit transfer and all of this, but just the sheer size and scale of taking Aadhaar, UIDAI to this level is stunning.
3 books you recommend apart from Mastering Disruption?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you. I think my Built to Last, okay, right, and 0 to 1, okay, right. Two, which I think are which are very good books, and I love the old book by Dale Carnegie, okay, right, which
How to
win friends and
influence
influence people. That is really.
By the way, Donald Trump is writing a sequel to it, How to Lose Friends and Piss Off People. I'm sure.
I'm sure. But I hope we come out of this. What currently is happening with this crazy idea, I just don't understand. But talking about this, I'm adding one more 4% from a disruption point of view. I think Elon Musk, you may love him, you may hate him, and we call him crazy, but the kind of disruption that he has brought about, whether it is in SpaceX, where you reuse the rockets that have been launched so that the cost comes down. How many rockets has he launched? What has he changed? Something where Lockheed Martin
or Space Link.
Yeah, or Space Link. Lockheed Martin, Boeing were doing that. Nobody here came from somewhere in this. Or Neuralink, where you actually do brain-computer interface. It is just fascinating.
And last question: 3 startups to watch out for.
I very much admire Zepto, which is just because from nowhere, college kids came out with this concept of 10-minute delivery in Q-commerce, including me, 100% skeptical. I would have bet any amount of money on that. Say it's in India, 10-minute delivery you don't need for grocery will work. Today people talk about vertical Q-commerce. Q-commerce, that question is answered. I mean, I think that is a phenomenal story. Unparalleled. I think that's something which is one which I think that is there. 2, I think I'm very fascinated by Neuralink. Okay, because the potential for it to make people quadriplegic actually use brain waves to do actual movements. I think that's very strong. And this bunch of startups in the space tech space. Okay, right. At the early stage, so I don't want to name any of them, but what they're doing. These are 3 areas which are very fascinating.
I'm sure you'll enjoy watching him and listening to him and learning from him. I'm sure you enjoy reading the book. It's called Mastering Disruption, a practical guide to understanding new age business model. So he's somebody who's built something multiple times. So whatever he's saying in this book is from a place of knowing it, having done it, and still having an attitude of humility and learning. I've enjoyed talking to him. I hope I do more sessions with him and we talk. Conversations can give you ideas, they can change the direction of your life. I hope you learned something from this conversation that you can take and build something that is of value and achieve your dreams. So all the best. Thank you, Ganesh. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.